Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Grief Let's Talk About It podcast. You guys know who it is. This is Tony Lynch. I am the host of this podcast, and we are your number one podcast for sharing stories around death, dying, and grief, and all the things that come in between there with some amazing people who not only talk the talk, but they walk the walk and are out here doing some amazing things. Now, first and foremost, I would like to say Happy Valentine's Day for those who are out there that are celebrating, for those who are out there grieving. My heart is with you. And for those who are supporting those who are grieving this holiday, this Valentine's Day season, please take the time and be gentle with them because it's a tough time. Now, before I bring on my next guest, I would like to say that this is for educational purposes only. And if it's your first time tuning in, do me a favor. Head on over to their YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you'll be notified every time that we drop a new episode. Now, I would like to say that if you're one of those individuals that like to come in and subscribe and unsubscribe, don't do that. Please, you mess up the algorithm. And we prefer to have the people that can benefit from these conversations come to the show. Now, this is a live stream, so please get your questions and comments ready for my next guest. And without further ado, I'm going to bring her up here. Now, before I bring her up here, I would like to say that this is for educational purposes only. Guys, help me welcome my next guest, Chris Ross, to the show. Chris, how you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you. And happy Valentine's over there. We had Valentine yesterday.
Okay, yeah, because you're in Australia, right?
Yes, Brisbane, Australia.
You guys are a day ahead of us. So, yeah, happy belated Valentine's Day to you. Hopefully, you guys had some fun. Was actually able to spend some time with your loved ones and things like that.
Do you know, it's funny when you think about it. It's like I should be able to tell you what happened yesterday in the world.
Well, we definitely can get into that. We got some people tuning in right now. I want to say happy Valentine's Day, and thank you guys for tuning in over here on Instagram. Storm78910. Happy Valentine's Day to you, brother. And Lincoln Smith, thank you for tuning in. He's a longtime supporter, brother of mine, and you know what I'm saying. He's always here, showing his support. Now, before we get started into your story, introduce yourself. Tell people who you are, where you're from, and about the work that you do.
So, my name is Chris Ross. My business is called Head to Heart. I'm an emotional wellbeing coach in Brisbane, Australia. And my passion is helping people find hope again in their lives, moving from that dark space to finding that glimmer of hope and start moving forward again, which is where we need to begin, right? We've got to begin somewhere when we feel life's taken a complete left turn and we don't know how to find our way back.
Yeah, but that's important work to do because there's a lot of people out there struggling, trying to find direction and trying to find hope out here today, right? We do live in trying times today, and I want to say thank you for the work that you do. So much needed, and so important. Thank you for that. Now, let's unpack this a little bit, right? How did you get into this work?
Well, I experienced my own devastating time back in 2012. It had been a series of things leading up to this particular year. Both my parents had passed away quickly. We just sold a business that just drained us of our life and our resources, crazy people we are. We stepped into a renovation and, extended ourselves. And then our then 20-year-old son went on an amazing trip that he'd been planning for a very long time, the end of his third year of uni, with two other very good friends, to Indonesia. And while he was there, he had a devastating accident that changed all of our lives in an instant.
And you've shared that part of your story with us as well, right? It's life changing. You guys had to make some adjustments and
yeah,
and a lot of healing with that. Share that part with the audience real quick. But before you do that, Storm78910. My heart is with you today. Her husband passed away 3 years ago, so today is one of those days where she may be struggling. So thank you for joining in today, and hopefully you can find as a matter of fact, let's do one better. If you got any questions for us, or anything like that, anything that you would like us to answer for you, how can we support you? Please put them in the comment section. We'll be sure to answer them as we go. Thank you for that. So yeah, we have people out here today that's joining us.
Wow, that's just
Share your choice with us.
So, any ordinary day, I call it, just any ordinary day in our lives can be changed forever, right? And you wake up in the morning, you open your eyes, you jump out of bed, you're getting breakfast, you're grabbing a coffee, but your mind is busy, right? And it's as you close that front door, you're not even thinking that there's anything off about that day. And I find it's often not until retrospect that you can look back and you see that ordinary day changed your life forever. And for us, it was just a phone call. We up in the morning, racing around, getting stuff finished for the renovations that we were doing, and we got a phone call from Tom's then girlfriend to say that she just heard from one of the boys that Tom was traveling with that Tom had a fall and cut his head pretty badly, and they'd taken him to hospital, and he had no other information for us. And we've got to remember, back in 2012, doesn't seem like that long ago, but technology was really just starting. Like we've just, exponentially in 12, 13 years, our ability to be in contact with people is so quick now, isn't it? It's sort of, but even back in 2012, we were still struggling to find out where they'd taken Tom and what had happened. And eventually we called the consulate in Bali. They were closed. We called the Australian consulate back here. They gave us the number of a couple of hospitals that we could call. So we rang one of the hospitals. They hadn't had any Australians, and we rang the Bali International Hospital, and they just had a young man arrive there, and by the name of Tom. And so they were able to take the phone to Tom's friend, who was then able to tell us the devastating news that, all the results of the x-rays and everything that they'd done and the scans, that Tom had a pretty serious spinal injury, a massive cut to his head that they thought perhaps he had brain damage as well. The doctors were insisting on operating, and Tom's poor friend was like, I just don't know what to do. I just don't think we should let them operate. And so Tom's dad jumped on the phone and he wanted to speak to the doctor. And it was pretty hard to understand what the doctor had to say. But we worked out that they felt that Tom had a C2 injury, and that it needed, which is a part of the spine, that needed to be operated on straight away. And our first response was, no, do not touch him until we have more information, and we need to speak to the travel insurance company. We need to speak to a friend of ours who's a surgeon and get more information. And the doctor was like, well, it's not up to you. Your son's over the age of 18 and he can make up his own mind. And my husband just said, look, our son's in no condition to make any decisions right now. So we do not give you permission to operate on him until we've spoken further to the travel insurance company and our friend of ours who's a surgeon back here. Anyway, he wasn't very happy about it. He said he'd wait and see. So we then got on the phone to our friend who's a surgeon. He just said, look, if this diagnosis is correct, you need to get Tom back here to Australia as soon as possible. Like, time is of the essence, and you do not want him operated on over there. And so then we're like, right, okay, just ordinary people becoming extraordinary, really. We just had to find our own extraordinary to step into something that we had never stepped into before, like most shattering moments. So we looked for Tom's travel insurance. Of course, he nearly left the country without travel insurance. He's like, I'm 20, Mum, what could possibly go wrong? Yes, thank goodness he took out the travel insurance. So we rang the travel insurance company. They were extremely helpful and put us in touch with their emergency team straight away. And unfortunately, they're like, Tom hasn't ticked a box to say that anybody else can speak on his behalf. And we're just like, oh my God, what are we going to do? And so they just said, we've got to get his approval before we can go forward here. And as crazy as this seemed, we just had to make that happen. So we had to call back to the Bali hospital, speak to Tom's friend who was with him there, to say, look, Ben, the insurance company is going to call. You've got to get the phone to Tom. All he's got to say is yes, you know. And then that was when he told us that Tom was fading in and out of consciousness, and that he'd almost passed away on the drugs that they were giving. Tom was making him violently sick, and he'd thrown up and he was choking on his own vomit. And Ben had walked back into the room and seen this and was just able to turn him on his side to get the vomit out so that he didn't choke. But he could have died quietly in that room if it weren't for his mate. So there was a lot of pressure going on. And anyway, eventually the insurance company called. Ben gets the phone to Tom. Tom says yes. And the journey begins to find an emergency evacuation team to get over to Bali to get to Tom as soon as possible. So we made that all happen within 6 hours. Just an incredible feat, and to hold the doctors off because they're pretty keen on operating. For a lot of different reasons, which we won't go into right here. But eventually, I sit up through the night and keep talking to the emergency team. We get a team over there. They get Tom stable, and because he becomes so sick, they say, look, we've got to get him back to Australia as soon as possible, and the closest city is Perth, which is like New York to San Francisco. Like, it's a complete opposite from where we are in Australia. So within 5 hours, we are packing and getting on a plane and flying across the country to wait for Tom's arrival. And it's still, how many times you can tell the story and it hurts your heart.
It does. And please take your time, breathe. And while you're doing that, just I want to acknowledge a comment that we have over here, and maybe you can have some words for this individual. They're struggling this holiday season with the loss of the husband. He passed away at work, and they're really struggling right now. And I think this is more of a comment for you. Maybe you have some words for that individual to help them. So they say they feel like they're never going to get over the loss, because they never had the chance to say goodbye. He passed at work. And this was 3 years ago.
And I think we've got to be careful of that get over it, right? Like, people, it's your journey. It's not anybody else's journey. I feel this is really important that we get our head around that. People used to say to me, but, aren't you lucky you've still got Tom? And I used to feel really like, oh my gosh, of course I feel blessed to have him still in our life. So what's wrong with me? Why do I still feel really shattered and down? And what I learned by speaking to other coaches and my psychologist and working through it when I finally reached out for help, was that it's your own journey. It's your journey. It's not anybody else's journey. You take your time to get through your grief and your loss. It's nobody else can tell you how to take this journey. The most important thing is, though, that you know that you're not alone, and that you reach out for help. Which is what I didn't do. And that was where I just spiraled, thinking I had to do this all by myself. I had to be strong. I was a businesswoman. I had children to look after. We had a life to get on with. Why wasn't I coping? And I spiraled badly, drinking, working really hard. Um, Everything started to disintegrate around me because I just wasn't facing the truth of the hurt and the loss of where you think life should be. And we have a vision for our lives, and when it's sort of taken away in an instant, it's like we've got to rebuild ourselves again. We've got to trust in life again, haven't we? So it's your journey. That's what I would say, and not to rush yourself, but not to be afraid to reach out for help too.
Yeah. And I'm a huge supporter in people reaching out for help. And sometimes I understand maybe people don't have the courage right then and there. Maybe they just need a little time
Yeah.
to do it. And so today being the day that it is, I get it, right? I was going to do a video earlier and let people know that, hey, I know there's some people out there that are celebrating Valentine's Day, but be careful about the people who are grieving this Valentine's Day, right? They're struggling with the loss of their loved ones. Some people are going through their first one. Some people are going through their seventh and eighth one. Some people like Miss Lori over here is going through her third one, right? And grief is just one of those things. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter when it happened, right? This is
Yeah.
your this is yours. Be gentle with yourself. Take your time. You know, you don't have to do anything except for do what you need to do. I love the fact that you brought up, the trusting aspect of it, trusting life. But most important, learn how to trust yourself too, right? Trust yourself to do what you need to do, as you need to do it. There's nobody going to be judging you, and if they are, they've never been through what you're going through, right? And,
Yeah.
and when the time comes, when the time comes, and you get to a place, you'll know it. Don't let anyone ever tell you when you need to get there, because it's not theirs, right? I'm a grief coach. I help men navigate this world of grief. I've had to do it myself. Look, for some of my losses, it's been 20 years. Some of them has been, 16. Some of them have been 9. Some of them have been 7. I still go through it. Can
Yeah.
anybody hear me out there? I would just want to make sure that you guys are hearing us and everything. Hopefully they can hear us. But yeah, and even with yourself, Chris, like you're going through, you've had to make some adjustments in your life, right? And as a parent, watching watching your child go through something like that is a challenge in itself. It's
Oh
definitely a
gosh.
challenge in itself.
And I always say this is a mother's story. It's my story. Tom has his own story, and it's a wowzer as well. But he is still with us. However, what I came to understand was his life was changed in an instant. He was this young, vital man who was studying exercise physiology at university. His whole life was about playing football, playing soccer, riding his bike. Everything for Tom was sport orientated. He was sport captain at school. He captained his teams, and he had this persona that's what his life was all about. And to become a paraplegic was just so incredibly life changing. You're going down a particular path. You have an image of yourself of who you're going, and that dies. Like that completely dies for you, and you have to rebuild who you thought you were. Where you were going. So
Hmm.
it just and these things that happen in the family, they have a ripple effect. They affect everybody.
Yes.
That it doesn't always just happen to one member of the family. It happens to us all, and we all grieve in our own way for that. And as a mother, you grieve for your son's pain and loss and change, and my own image of our life where I thought we were going, and everything changed. Our marriage nearly broke down. We had to sell our dream home to adjust with the changes. Everything, Tom's life, he couldn't go back to university. It was just, everything changed, and it's difficult to find your way forward again.
Yes. But I think a lot of it is, Chris, I think that's the challenge, right? Because I think a lot of times we think we need to find a way forward, right? Instead of actually growing through it, right? Because you have to grow through it. And I don't say go through it, I say grow through it, because that's what grief does, right? When your life changes in such a dramatic way and you have all of these different variables that are now just being played into the situation, you become different versions of yourself in order to survive
Yes.
things, right? So you have to grow through it. You literally have to grow through it. You have to grow internally. You have to grow mentally. You have to grow emotionally, right? And sometimes you have to grow physically as well, right? To be able to endure. But most importantly, you have to grow emotionally.
Yes.
Right? Because again, if you're not aware of what emotions that you're going through, it can become a messy place. It can become a place of confusion, right?
Yeah.
So, and then learning how to separate them, going, hey, at this moment, this is what I need, and trusting yourself to say, this is what I need.
Yeah.
Sometimes, sometimes, Chris, all you need to do is just sit there. You don't need to have to figure out anything. You don't need to try to do everything all at the same time. You got enough on your plate. You understand? And
Wow.
sometimes, but sit there with it until you're ready.
And
It's a
that
matter
takes
of how to
courage.
strength. Yeah, it takes. There you go. It takes courage, right? So,
Mm.
and that's what it's meant to do. It's meant to see if you can develop the courage um to ask for help.
Right? I think the first thing, Tony, would you agree, is that we have to take responsibility for where we find ourselves.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was the first step I realized, was when a couple of years later, I got up in the morning getting ready for work. We're running a business, and just having a shower, and I started to cry, and I couldn't stop. I just could not stop. It was like something completely broke in me. I couldn't pretend anymore that everything was okay. I hadn't faced anything really. I had not stopped and gone, what the hell has happened?
Right. Exactly.
And my husband helped me. He said, you've got to go and get help, Chris. You've got to go and talk to somebody. And I went to our beautiful local doctor, and she just said, Chris, you just haven't dealt with it. You just have not listened to yourself, anybody, and maybe you need to reach out and ask for some help.
Yeah.
And I guess that was a big turning point for me, because I'm pretty determined. I got to do everything on my own. That's been my strong point, and it can also be the weakest point for you too.
That's what it's about. Right. So and we both know this, right? Saying as we unpack this, you know, that's part of it.
Yeah.
Like there's no blueprint for this. There's no blueprint for grief. That's what I love. That's what I try to explain. There's no blueprint for grief.
No.
Grief is its own thing. And everyone, this is what makes it so beautiful, is that everyone is going to experience it the way that they need to.
Yeah.
What you do along the journey is what you need to, right? I've seen people go through grief and sometimes they cope with it with drugs. Sometimes they cope with it with alcohol. I'm not here to judge nobody. You do what you need to do, right? Because for one, and I want to get your thoughts on it. For one, when you're going through things like that, you do these things, but it's part of your story. This is your
Yes.
story. And so, you know what I'm saying? And however you've done it is what you need to do. As you begin to go, it's going to shift. This is how we get these beautiful conversations. This is how we get to them because you're going through the mud. You may feel as in this moment, this is what you need to do. Okay. I'm a firm believer that, hey, if you're going to hit your version of rock bottom, I tell everybody, don't take the shovel. Don't take the shovel. Please don't. Right? Because for one, if you take the shovel and you give them an out, they're going to take the out, but eventually they got to go back and get the shovel again because they haven't hit the version of rock bottom. That's their story. Don't stop that. Don't stop that because their stories help other people get through theirs, just like ours, right? You know what I'm saying? You mentioned that you was drinking and doing all, you dealt with it the way that you needed to, right?
Yep. The only way I understood how, right? And I wanted to be really hard on myself for that. For a long time I was. And then exactly, you learn so much when you ask for help. I realized that was okay. Like that was just me
Yeah,
back then. How could I, I have to turn with compassion to past me and go, wow, gorgeous, you did the best you could with everything that was going on for you. Just be kind to that past person who did the best they could in those dark moments.
exactly, exactly, and that's what it's about. I'm just answering some more questions over here, and letting people know that hey, like ask these questions, please. So most of the things that I'm saying is popping up over here on Instagram. And I want to thank them for tuning in and listening to your amazing journey as well. Because your marriage, I want to ask a proper question because your marriage almost fell apart. So being a male, um, I see this a lot. I see this a lot when couples are going through some of the challenging moments, especially with children. There can be a lot of blame, a lot of finger pointing. If you didn't do this and this, that, another, right? You know what I'm saying? And it's just part of it. But I'm glad you guys stayed together. I am so glad that you guys stayed together because, for one, now you can help other people understand how to come together in those aspects of it, right? You know what I'm saying? And that's a beautiful thing. That is definitely a beautiful thing. So, from your perspective, how did you perceive your husband dealing with the situation as well?
Did you say perceive?
Yeah, perceive the
Yeah.
situation, or how was he dealing with it along with you? Because
Um,
two
just
different,
shutting
two different
down.
looks. Yeah, two different looks over going on.
Yep. He pretty much just, we didn't talk about it very much. He told me that he never cried. Um, and I shed an ocean and oceans of tears. And I'm not a big crier, as life goes. I don't cry easily. But yeah, Pete just shut down in his own way. He's a quiet fellow, a deep thinker, and he and Tom had a strong relationship. He has a strong relationship with both of our children, and he was this quiet rock. However, we weren't dealing with it together. We weren't talking about it. We were blaming. We were angry. Why didn't you do this while I was over on the other side of the country looking after our son? And why didn't, there's all of this, why that, going back over, if only we'd done this before that happened. And, it just brings up, if there's a crack, grief can tear it wide open.
Ooh, girl, look, you just hit home. You just hit home with that one, because I was thinking the same thing. You may think that you got on some really tough armor. That grief comes, it starts poking around, and it finds that little opening. Next thing you know, that armor comes off. It's like the Incredible Hulk just came out of your chest.
That's a really good decision. You just break open, right? Like everything is on the table. You completely strip bare. And I know of a lot of families that did not make it through a challenging time.
Yeah.
And we nearly didn't either. And we're 37 years married this year, and 40 years together. It's a long journey, right? You weave a big tapestry in that time. Yeah. And it hasn't been happy, joy. It hasn't been, the love of my life, and we stuck together, and we've journeyed some tough times, and we're still finding ourselves. We're getting stronger as we're moving forward here.
That's part of it.
And it takes courage and compassion to stand together and look back and not blame how you thought life was going to look.
Yeah, that's part of it, Chris. I believe, because one of the things, and I want to get your thoughts on this, right? A lot of people find blaming other people can be a huge escape, right? Because no one wants to say that sometimes life happens. No one wants to say that, because sometimes it does. And unfortunately and fortunately, so a little bit of both here, sometimes those changes have nothing to do with us. When life happens, and although we bear the impact of it, do we ever think about the person that is impacting? Maybe it had nothing to do with us. Maybe it was their story, right? But when you're in it, it's really hard not to take things personally, right? Like, no, you know what I'm saying? You should have did this, and you should have did that. You know this as well as I do. It's easy to do that. And then instead of coming together and saying, hey, let's just take a breath and sit back a little bit, and then we can come back together and, and talk about it, calm down, learn how to breathe. Go to a space where your emotions aren't so riled up, right? Because one thing about grief, it can be one or two things, and sometimes both of them at the same time. It can be emotional and logical, depending on where you're at in the stage of it, right?
Right.
I want to get your thoughts on that.
Absolutely. I love what you just said then about this, those stages, and they don't have to happen within 12 months.
No.
It can be, you start to move through something, and you're starting to, and something you said before about, Valentine's Day can trigger an emotion again. So many things can trigger emotion. Mm-hmm. I can be standing in line at the shops, and a music comes on, and it, you hear something, and you just, whoosh, you're taken back there in a moment again. And I feel that, this is what grief does. It takes its time. It takes its time with you. And I think it is about, the healing comes from starting to take responsibility for where you find yourself, and start to go, well, what if this isn't happening to me? What if this is happening for me? What if my journey is about this whole process for me to break open and become who I really am?
Yes.
To find the truth of me. And that's when you start to take responsibility. These are the things that you learn about grief and the challenges of life when you stop taking them personally, when you start to wake up and go, whoa, what if this is a part of my journey? What if Tom chose me way before he came here
Yes.
for me to be his mother, for me to be on this journey with him, to be his support person, for me to learn that this is my journey to break open, and that maybe ultimately I'm here to serve others as well. That this devastating time in my life is about me stepping into my true power.
Yes. Yes. I think the beautiful thing about this journey, about this life in general, right? We we oftentimes don't see the full picture because we're too busy putting the pieces, right? You know what I'm saying? And so it can be very confusing. And yes, what if Tom chose you, right? What if all of this happened so you can go out here and educate other people? You never think about, right? We talked about this before. Most of the things that we do, we never saw doing. We never saw ourselves doing. We had this whole plan out of our lives that this is what we was going to do. This is how we was going to live. We was going to do all of these different things, right? So we have in our mind, this is the way we planned it out. Then life comes and says, I didn't promise you that.
Yeah.
I didn't tell you that this was going to be this way. The biggest challenge in life is, and for anybody out there listening to, please share your thoughts on this. And I'm gonna ask this question. I'm gonna make this statement. I want to get your thoughts on it. The biggest challenge in life is that we as people, as human beings, have a tendency of lying to ourselves about life. Let me break that down a little bit. We will say this is the way that we want to, this is the way that we're going to live our lives, this is what we're going to do, all of these different things, just repeating what I said before. And then when life comes and changes all of that, we look at life and go, why would you do this to me? I thought that we had an agreement. I thought that, you know what I'm saying, you didn't say that you was going to do this, you said that I can do this. Life never said any of that. So when did we get to a point to where we holding life accountable for life, right? We
Mm.
had those expectations. This is where accountability comes in. This is where we have to look at ourselves and go, wow, you're right. Life never said this. I did this. I said this. And now I'm disappointed because life didn't give me what I wanted.
Yeah.
Wow. Right? Think about it. I want to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I love that. It's life is what's happening while we're busy making other plans.
Yeah.
Like this is what is happening, and uh, I love it. Because what causes us the most grief, I've learned on my journey, is that it's the resistance to what is. When we resist what is, okay. The truth is Tom had that accident. It
Right.
changed our lives. If I'm resisting that, if I'm wishing it never happened, if I'm wishing that it was different, then I suffer. And I really suffer. I'm going to be, and I've been there. That's where it all comes from, right? It changed our lives. Had to sell our dream home. We had to sell the family home. We had to break up the family to go and do other things to survive financially. And I resist all that because I go, I wish that didn't happen, but it happened. There's nothing I can do about that. But what I can do is start to recognize that it happened. It happened. It's happened. I can't change it. I can't deny it. I have to take responsibility for it now. And that's the only way I can start to heal, because I stop resisting what is. Does that make sense, Tony?
It makes sense. Can I add to that though? Because I think that part, that's one part of it,
Yes.
taking responsibility for it. And another part of it is understanding that you may not have all the answers. Healing is multi-layered.
Oh,
So
yeah.
all of these different things that you say, like you're not wrong. It's just all of these different things that we have to add into there, right, in order to aid in the healing. Because healing is revealing. All the
Yes.
layers that we begin to unpack, that's accountability, right? There's forgiveness, there's patience, there's empathy, there's grace, there's deep understanding, there's pivoting, there's beating yourself up, there's a different set of learning, and then relearning and learning some more. Healing is all of these different things that come along with it. That's what makes grief so unique to the individual. Because not only are you learning the world that you now live in, you're learning how to see it through different eyes.
Oh, yeah.
Every version of yourself that heals is a different eyes that now see the world differently. So now you're learning that, right? It's understanding those situations, understanding and learning how to articulate your emotions as they come, not only being aware, but becoming intelligent about your emotions and learning when to say, not right now.
And when it's okay to just go, I can't, I can't do life today.
Exactly. Exactly.
You know, that I just need to be kind to myself. And everything that you're saying there, those journeys of grief, the key to reaching out and knowing that you're not alone, I feel, is to gain an awareness that there are steps there, that there are, that these are a normal process, that you can start to feel like you're not alone, that you're not going crazy, that your grief isn't overwhelming you so much that you lose hope. And this is where we've got to be careful, I feel, in that grief process, that we do reach out and ask for help so that we can begin to step out of the dark place that we're in. I guess what I want to be able to do is to help people not spend too much time, and once it's time to move out of that dark place, so that we can see the light again, that we can see that there's hope at the end of the tunnel. We've got to be able to start to enjoy things again. I couldn't even enjoy, this analogy of two people can be standing watching a sunrise, and somebody who is in a different headspace can see the beauty of it, and yet if you're in a dark space, you can't even, to you it's like, oh God, another day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Instead, oh my gosh, another day. My granddaughter woke up, she's 2.5, and she said the other morning, I woke up and she was awake in the bed. She sleeps in a little cot when she sleeps over at the end of our bed, and she's standing up and she's looking at me and she says, Cece, it's a new day. And the joy in her. Whereas once that, for me, it was like, oh God, it's another day. And I didn't want to keep staying in that place. I just didn't want to stay in that heaviness and that, and it's like the brain wants you to stay there because it's keeping you safe.
Yes.
Right? And then you start to believe that because it seems easier to stay there. And it does take effort to move. It does take an effort to start to move forward again, because you're entitled to have joy and love and hope again. This is what I started to learn on the journey, was that it was all right to be happy, Chris. It was okay to find joy. And that was really another mind shift. You know, when
Yeah.
you experience a life-changing event, you feel guilty about feeling okay, good, finding happiness again.
Yes. And no, go ahead. I'm gonna add to that. I'm gonna add to that.
Yeah, I feel like what I've learned about the brain is that it's trying to keep you safe. And one of the ways that it does that is to constantly remind you of a situation or a place. And we start to believe our thoughts again. Those thoughts then become a part of us. And part of what I do when I'm working with people is to get them to understand how the brain is working for them too, so that they can start to see that it's okay to start moving forward again and start to live a life for themselves. Because, you know, if you think about people who have lost somebody, what would that person want to say to you? I always love that. Would they want you to stay so sad and lost in the darkness? Or would they be saying, come on, life still has so much to offer you again?
Yeah.
And it doesn't, I think we fear, but what if I do that and I let go of them and I stop thinking about them? Oh no, I need to stay here again. It's such a forward, back as we start to move forward. You know, it's the whole journey. But eventually I'm finding that I am seeing more joy in my life. I am seeing that sunrise and going, okay, it is a new day today. There is new opportunity for me to start to experience joy again. And I think the big thing that people struggle with is putting themselves first again, healing themselves.
That's the part.
Yeah.
That's
You
the
know,
part, right? You ever notice those of us who have gone through deep grief? We're normally the caregivers. We're normally the strong ones for everyone, right? The biggest thing is, and the reason why we don't put people first, subconsciously we play into this role, right? People that see us and so used to individuals being the strong one, when you're going through something, because they're so used to being the one, you being the one that they come to, it's hard for them to see you going through it. So in their mind, it's a different change that they're not used to. So subconsciously, they're trying to get you back to where they're comfortable with. They're comfortable with, right? They need you to come back and be the strong person again because they don't have the words to help you. When you're the strong one and you're going through the hurt, they're looking at you like, oh, I need this person to be strong again, right? They got to get back to the person that I know, right? They don't understand that your world has changed, right? And so what we do now, we don't put ourselves first because we see them hurting for us, but not knowing how to express it. So now we have to push aside what we're going through to cater to them, to let them know that everything is going to be okay. So the roles have now been reversed back around to them, right? It's a selfish thing, because people don't know that they're doing it. Sometimes when you're in it and you can actually see, again, you have to step outside of the picture in order to see the full picture, right? To connect the dots, understanding when these things come about. And then you have to stop that individual. I've had to do this with several people. Hey, I can't do it right now. Because what I found that people was doing, they would call and say, hey, you got a moment? And then I knew right then and there that they're about to try to dump everything on top of me, right? They're not asking whether or not if I'm going through something. They know that I just went through something, right? But they're like, hey, right now my job is just whoa, 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 whoa. No, right now I don't have the mental, emotional, or the spiritual capacity to deal with your stuff. I have
Yeah.
my own thing going on right now. Have I made people mad by doing that? Oh man, I just need, yeah, I need somebody to talk to too. But you know what I'm saying? When I was going through it, what was you at? See, you was willing to take away from me, but you're not willing to give back to me, right? You're not willing to give the space or ear or you know what I'm saying, or your heart to me in these moments, but you expect me to push aside everything that I'm going through. No.
And that takes courage again, Tony.
Correct.
Because you would normally, I would go, sure, I'm always there to help somebody, right?
Exactly.
Yes, let me take, and I kept pushing down my own grief, my own sadness, because I felt this sense of responsibility that I'm the
Yeah.
carer, I'm the strong one, I need to keep going forward. And it was killing me. It was killing me. And it takes courage to go, no, I have to heal myself first. I have to now look after me before I can hold a space for anybody else. Because
Hmm.
if there's nothing in your cup, there's
Yeah.
burnout, there's overwhelm, there's anger, there's resentment, there's all of these emotions that flood up in you that are no good to anybody, are they? No good.
No.
No good to you. You cannot help anybody if you're in that place. So it can be really hard for some people to stop and say, no, I've got to put myself first, because they think it's selfish. They think
Mm.
it's the wrong thing to do. But we have to put ourselves first when we're grieving, when
It
we're
feels
going
that way.
through this time.
Yeah, it feels that way, right? And so now I want to get to a part in your journey because you said something, and I found that to be very very fascinating because there was a lot of overcoming things as well, right? A lot of adjustments in life. You, your husband, and now your son, and things like that. But I want to get back to the surgery because you pretty much told them not to touch your son.
Yeah.
You were like I said, no, you're not going to do that, right? Which turned out to be a really one of the best decisions that you made.
Oh my gosh. If we, and this is the thing, we all have one of the things, another part of the healing journey that I go through with people is to talk about when you went through a challenging time, what strength and inherent attribute rose up within you, because that is there all the time for you. This is a
Hmm.
gift that has come with you for this journey. You have every strength you need already within you to face everything that comes your way. We just forget how to tap into it. We forget how to sit with it and remember in that last challenging time what strength rose up within you. I mean, to call that doctor on his diagnosis when we are not doctors, we knew nothing. But we just went, no, you don't touch him until we find out more information. There's persistence, there's determination, there's courage. That is there for you all the time. Whatever yours is, whatever rose up within you, you forget that they're there. It's called an attribute is an inherent quality. So inherent means it's there within you. It's
Hmm.
it's there. So when that rose up, to say no to him, and it turned out we saved Tom's life by doing that. He wanted to operate on a higher vertebrae that Tom had gotten some injury from playing football 3 or 4 years earlier.
Hmm.
His was a T12, was much lower. Now, if he'd have operated, Tom could have died. More likely he would have died, but the worst, or the second worst outcome would have been that he would be a quadriplegic.
Yeah.
And the doctor, when we finally got him back here, said we were one of the lucky ones. And I always remember thinking, what the hell is lucky about this?
Yeah.
And then as we've journeyed, oh, we are one of the lucky ones. It always sat with me then that you get a bigger picture
Yeah.
as you go forward. In the moment, you can't see the light. But as you journey down this path, as you become aware, as you start to heal your own grief and sense of loss, and you find your new normal. And that's the thing, isn't it? Finding your own new normal. It's a beautiful journey too. It's a beautiful journey. It's a beautiful journey when you can really see it for what it is. And I love supporting people to do that because, and I'm still seeing that every day. It's not like I've gone, aha, I've got it. As you know, you don't. You're still journeying through it.
But that's part of it, right? All of this is part of this, and I think that's where we make sure that people understand that, hey, all of these different things that you think that ain't part, it's part of it, right? So don't beat yourself up too much. Everything that you, it's part of it, right?
Yeah,
And another beautiful part about it is, and I love this part of your story, when you talk about your son, because your son managed to find his smile again too.
yeah, yeah. He
How was it for
married.
him?
Sorry.
How was it for him? See, we see things from our, but you got to witness your son.
Oh,
You got to witness your son go from this horrible accident to finding his smile again and helping not only you find your courage, but find your space in life. But he found his too.
yeah. And that isn't to say that every day isn't a struggle for Tom.
Yeah,
This injury is one that keeps giving. And but Tom ended up marrying Maddie, his girlfriend. They've been together now for a long time. She stayed by his side the entire time, and we saw this injury break up many relationships. They now have a little girl called Bethany Christine. She's the light of our life and theirs. And they now run a dog training business. And Tom says to me, he says to me recently, Mum, I wouldn't change anything. I wouldn't, my life now, what I have now, I'm so grateful for. And, that always touches my heart. He wouldn't change anything. He's become the man he is today, he feels, because of what he's been through. And wow, yeah, he just encourages me every time I see him. He never complains about where he finds himself. Just
see, that's encouraging. That's inspiration. See, and for those that are listening right now, you guys have always heard me say, I'm not an inspiration, I'm an example. Now, what Chris has gone through, what her son has gone through, what her family has gone through, did you guys hear what she said? Did you guys hear? No matter what her son is find himself, he never complains. That's inspiration. That's courage. And that's what that means when I say that, right? That's what I want for other people who are going through challenging moments right now. I want you to meet the Chris of the society, and when you find yourself stuck in that dark moment, right? Because she's gonna help you get out of there, right? Because it's easy to get stuck in those dark moments. It is so easy to get stuck, and especially in the world that we live in today, holidays, things like that. That's when you find yourself in those dark moments. That's when people find themselves stuck the most, right? I know I was there, but see, I was different too, right? I don't I don't recommend what I did for people, right? Because in my darkest moments is when I found me, right? I realized that there was no one else around. It was pitch black. I couldn't see nothing, no path, no light, no anything. But it's when I reached out my hand, I realized that I was on the other side. I was on the other side. I went through mine. I didn't seek therapy. I didn't do any of that. Chris, I'm a battle dog, okay? I refuse. I at one point in life, I was like, you're not gonna whoop me until they whoop me. And I surrendered. I was like, I got the white flag over here. Here's Tony. And I realized that when I wiped the blood off my face and wiped all the dirt off me, I took the white flag and I threw it in the dark. And Tony threw it back out. I was like, "Hey, you got something on your forehead. Wipe that off and get your butt on up. Come on, let's get this right." But it was the different versions of myself that I met in the darkness. I don't recommend that for people. Again, grief is my gift. That's where I was born. That's where this version of Tony came out of. And Gift said, I am your path. I am your guiding light. But I showed that light to people so they don't have to go through what I went through. And I think you do the same things, right? You've been through your darkness and you found you got therapy. You went over there and you find yourself going through the darkness. Whoo! Well, everything that came along with that, right? Talk about being exhausted.
Yeah. Right.
Talk about being exhausted.
Oh man, I'm going back to bed.
It's like, oh, whoa, hold on. I can't believe is this what we're doing today? Yeah. I'm not doing this.
Yes.
I'm not showing up. You guys got me messed up. I'm telling you, look, most people go through that and they don't understand it. But we talk about it because we can laugh about it now. But when you're going through it, it don't seem like you ever find that laughter. You'll never see the gleam in your eyes again.
Yeah.
Right? But you're a walking testimony of you will.
You will. And you've got to allow yourself to believe that you will, right? And allow yourself to know it's okay for you to feel that again. Like you don't have to feel guilty about finding the joy in life again.
Right.
You don't have to feel guilty about that. You know, you've got to take time for you. Find your own healing. Because I didn't reach out for a long time, Tony, and I stayed in that dark, ugly place. And I pretended that everything was okay, except in my own darkness. You know, on the outside, I looked like I was coping. But on the inside, absolutely nothing mattered to me anymore. Nothing.
Right.
And I just couldn't stay there forever. Like, you know, that was when I hit that rock bottom in that shower on the floor, just broken open. Like, what the hell are you doing, woman?
Yeah.
And I don't deserve to be happy. I don't deserve to have joy in my life again. And I'm messy and I'm effed up. You know, who wants me? I don't want me.
Exactly.
And yet I've got all the family and friends around me and I couldn't see them for the trees. You know, you feel like you're so alone. And yet you're not. And that's what I've been learning. I've always been held up. What if you've been held up by the community of people who are supporting you, and you can't see it?
That's powerful.
You know, but they're there. They want to hold you.
Yeah.
And I couldn't see it. And when I started to, it was like, oh my God, you've always been there, you know? Yeah. Pete was always there, but I couldn't see him. I was just so angry. But he was there. And now I'm learning to re-see that, and recognize him for who he is, not who I thought he should be, how he should have handled it, but who he is. And it's all a part of this journey that we're on. And I believe that healing is 95% awareness. When you start to become aware of the truth and stop resisting what is. Yeah. And say, all right, it is this. It is this. I've got to stop wishing it were different. How do I find my new normal now?
Yeah.
How do I allow myself to find my new normal and find joy in that?
Yes.
And it doesn't mean life's going to be happy, happy, joy, joy all the time again either. It just means that you start to take off that big heavy coat, put down that knapsack that you're carrying around full of all of the stuff you hate.
Yeah.
put it down, let it go. And it's just like, oh my God. I mean, every day, every second day you can pick it up. But just some days put it down a little bit. And then
I think that's what a challenge is, right? We're so afraid that, and you said this, and I'm just reiterating what you said. We're so afraid that if we let go, we're going to forget them.
Yes.
Right? We're going to, so we got to carry that. I got to, look, I was guilty of that. I got to carry this thing around with me because I don't want to forget their voice.
Yeah.
I don't want to forget the touch. I don't want to forget their memories. I got to carry this around with me. And it's the hurt that I felt that kept me connected to them because I didn't feel safe without it. Right?
Yes.
I didn't feel safe without it. So I carried it with me for a long time. And I hurt a lot of other people in the process of carrying my own hurt. Hurt people, right? There's a quote that says, "Nothing changes unless you change."
Yeah.
That's a deep quote because nothing changes unless you change. And I heard this from a podcast, Theo Vaughn. Um, I can't for the life of me, I can't remember the podcast name. Oh, This Weekend with Theo Vaughn. And he said this, and I love listening to other people's podcasts because I find it so inspiring, and things like that. And a person can dream, right? A person can dream like that's what I want to be. I want to be up there with them, right? Um,
Yes.
but nothing changes unless you change.
Yep. Absolutely. And the other one I love too is what's in the way is the way. What's in your way is the way. I think that's a Wayne Dyer. And what's in the way is the way. You have to go through it. You've got to go through what's in the way because every time you push it aside, every time you push it down, it builds like toxic energy within you.
Mm-hmm.
And unless you can start to release that toxicity, that hurt, that pain, that somatic, something that I've been doing a lot of lately is breath work. And oh my God, the first time I did it, I cried and cried and cried. I had no idea that was going to happen. It was like it blew me open. And I'm doing it again this morning, and I just love it now. It's a part of my healing, a part of breathing through, bringing up all of that toxic energy that I've been carrying around for such a long time. And Tony, a part of my journey, I wrote down 6 steps that I thought really helped me. And the first step in my healing was to learn to dream again, like to learn to know that you can trust life again, that it's okay to have a dream. And, for me, it was like, well, how can I dream again when life is so freaking vulnerable? When life can be taken for what you think life should look like, can be changed for you in a moment.
Exactly.
And to learn to dream again, it's the first step I feel to start to visualize what it is that you truly want. Get back in touch with your heart, that little person deep inside you that had a dream. Tap into that again. It takes courage to do that, I know, but it's the beginning of seeing that there's hope. What would you like life to look like for you again? Start that dream. And then, looking at, well, what stops me from believing it's possible? It's all those beliefs, all those sticky notes that we carry around on our back.
Yeah.
And we go through and we start to peel them off one by one and have a look at it. Well, is that the truth of you? Where did that belief come from? Oh my God, you picked that up from the grade 3 school teacher.
Yeah.
Told you you'd never amount to anything. Or that you believe you need to stay sad because that's your lot now. So we look at all those beliefs, and then we talk about your attributes and your inherent strengths, like I've mentioned before. What is within you? And we rediscover them again. Like what is it that rose up within you in that big challenge that got you through it?
Yeah.
Let's look at that and name it and own it and help you lean into it every day when you don't want to get off that couch. And there are days you can stay on that couch. It's not a judgment there. It's just that when you need to keep moving forward. And then looking at what standards and expectations we have. Are they realistic? Are they even ours, man? You know, we've been trying to live up to somebody else's expectations that have just sapped us of our essence. They're not even yours.
Yeah.
You know, to start creating the truth of you. What are your expectations for you? How can you set boundaries that support you and uplift you and start to move you forward in a gentle, loving way? And along the way, we rediscover what really matters to us again. And they're our values, you know, your intrinsic values. What really matters to you? Family, love, compassion. And then we write a power statement about it, you know, so that you can start to make decisions again based on those values that matter to you, because that's where you start to find clarity again, where you have an anchor, where you can go, oh God, I don't know how to make a decision today. It's like, well, where's the value? What really matters to you again? Remember what matters to you again.
Right.
And I just found those little steps, when I put them together, helped me start to move forward and find that hope again. That light is there at the end of that tunnel, that I can and I deserve to have joy in my life again.
Yes.
And when I do, the important part of it is why it's so important is because of the knock-on effect. You know, I can help my son better when I'm feeling more strength in me. I can help my daughter because she went through a tough time too, you know, like it changed her life.
Yeah.
And I can start to see my husband in a different light. I can look around and go, oh my God, all my friends and family that were there for me and I never saw it. And I can start to see opportunity, because when you're so dark, you can't see hope. You can't see opportunities. And yet you deserve that. You deserve to have that. And I just want to have it in my life, and I just want to share the journey with others so that you don't lose hope. I've seen people lose hope, and I nearly did too. Well, where you take a life and there was so much hope.
That's powerful. That's powerful, because you're absolutely right. We lose hope. We do lose a lot of hope. I think most of us do. The majority of us do. I'm not going to, not going to just sweep that under the rug, because it's not to be swept under the rug. I know I have a friend right now who's going through something right now. And if she's listening out there, I want to just let her know I haven't forgot about her. This was dealing with some other things as well. You know, I have another friend who just lost his third child to suicide. And, you know, sometimes I'm just one person. And I say that to say this, because right there, what you just said, you know, it's real easy for us to lose hope when the people that we love are suffering, or they're not here, and things like that. And I'm thankful that there's a Chris out there that sees that and goes, I see you in your darkness. Let's go find some hope. Let's go find the light. Let me walk with you as we go through this. And that's why I said I appreciate the work that you do, because for one, you know, like, I can help people navigate. I'm still developing my gift.
Me too.
And it's, you know, understanding and being in your presence right now gives me hope that and it makes my heart happy to know that there's a Chris out there that goes, I see you. It may be a silhouette of you in that darkness, but I see you in there, doggone. You know what I'm saying? And I got a flashlight. Hey, you, come here, I see you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't hide from Chris.
Somebody in there.
Yeah, Chris is in there in the darkness with you. Like, come on, I got you. Come on. You know,
You don't stand there.
yeah, you can't just stand there. Look, come on. Like, I get it. You know what I'm saying? But take my hand, walk with me for a minute. You know, and I think that's when we look at this thing called grief, this journey. This is why we're called to do what we do. Because I tell you, it, um, it's such an honor and a privilege to meet so many people doing what they know how to do, right? Living within their gifts. Because as a man in the work that I do, I don't hold a candle to any of that, and I'm humble enough to know that it takes us, a village of people, of
Yeah.
individuals who walk this to do the work that we do. And for those out there that are listening and that are seeking support and maybe stuck and things like that, this is the reason why we do it. To encourage you to find that support, to allow other individuals to grab your hand and walk with you. Sometimes just sit with you. Sometimes just to listen to you. Sometimes
Yeah.
just to say nothing at all with you. But to get you out of those dark places and get you to a place to where you're good, where you can find your footing, where you can develop your own sense of faith and strength and encourage and be vulnerable enough, but also be brave in the same sense. But also understanding that throughout all of that is the yin and the yang. You can't have one without the other. You can't be strong all the time. Sometimes you got to surrender.
Yeah.
The journey is yours. It is yours. But the beautiful part about it is that we got a lot of people that's willing to walk with you during that journey. So don't, as Simon Sinek said, don't deny someone the opportunity to be there for you in your darkest moments. Right?
Yeah.
It, 8 minutes to let a person know that you're struggling. Find a way to communicate that to them. But don't deny people because you got people. Look, I can almost guarantee you, everybody that's listening to this show right now, that's tuning in and watching and listening to us, you know there's some people in your life that are quit drop everything that they're doing just to have that 8 minutes to sit with you. Don't deny them that. Don't deny them that. Give them that, especially now, today. You know what I'm saying? You ain't gotta wish them a happy Valentine's Day. Just go and take it slow with them. Maybe watch a couple horror movies if that's what you need to do. Have some dinner, have some lunch. But just sit with them and understanding, patience, grace. Forgive them if they're not all there together today. It's to be expected. And just remember, we got to leave people better than what we found them. We got to. When you walk them to their next destination, make sure you leave these people better than what you found them. Because one day you may be on the opposite end of that. I'm not wishing it on you, but when it comes down to grief, it is something that if you have not experienced it, you will. So make sure that you know what I'm saying. You be in the change that you want to see, and making sure that when you're in that situation, that that person that comes up behind, what comes up to walk you to your next destination, make sure you remember that. You know. With that being said, Chris, as we wrap this up and everything, I want to say wow, such an amazing journey that you've been on and amazing work that you do. Thank you for being on the show today to even share with me, to allow me to honor and the privilege to have your show out here and let other people experience it as well. And for the amazing person that you are. Thank you. Thank you for and now before I let you go, because I know you probably got a whole lot of stuff going on. You're in Australia, so you know what I'm saying. You probably got a busy day and things like that. How can people find you?
Ah, well, thank you for asking. And I would love people to jump onto my website. I've got a lot of free resources there. I've got meditations and things that I've just put up to help people to start their own journey. So yeah, my website, I think we'll put it in
Yeah, I believe
all
it's
of the
there.
links and things, as they say.
Yeah, I
And
have it
you know what,
on our YouTube channel, I believe.
and you know what, Tonio, I would love to offer your viewers. I was thinking about this morning. I've got a little mindset program that I've put together, which is a short, very short version of my 6 steps. And there's 6 little videos or audios that they can listen to, and that are going to help them to start to move forward. You know, help them to just begin the journey. And I'd love to offer it for free to your anybody who listens and reaches out today. So either they can, I'll give them my email address or something. I'm not sure, and I can send them the link. You let me know the best way.
I have it in the YouTube channel. So if they go to the YouTube channel, if they're tuning in right there, go down to the descriptions. I think I have all of that information. Go there and check it out, please. Get that free gift, please, guys. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Make sure that,
that's
and if
powerful.
you can't figure it, reach out and we'll make sure we send you the link, or I'll put it on my website this morning, the link to the little program
Yeah.
that can just start listening to anywhere, anytime. Somebody said they were listening to it on the couch the other day, and just help them get up and start moving.
Yeah.
Get outside and breathe the fresh air and start moving.
Yeah. Go get that. Go get those free gifts. Check her out, please, guys. You know what I'm saying? She's doing some amazing things out here in this world. She's all the way over in Australia, so you guys already know we're nationwide. We're international, man. You know what I'm saying? We're all over the world. You know, which is beautiful, right? That just goes to show you that no matter where you at, there's somebody out there going through something right now or have gone through it, and out here doing some amazing things. So we make it easy for you guys to get in contact with them, right? You know what I'm saying? That's what the podcast is for. You guys already know. Not only do Chris talk the talk, but she's walked the walk, and she's in the darkness with you. She's gonna help pull you guys out of there. One last question for you, Chris. One last question before I let you go. If you had a superpower, what would it be?
Wow, if I had a superpower, I think my superpower is just grit, I guess, determination. Just, yeah, I think I'm stubborn, and that can be a real challenge, but it can also be my biggest strength, because I just got to keep going. I'll just keep going. And I think that's my superpower. And compassion, holding space.
I love that. Man, I love that so much. With that being said, guys, we're going to wrap up this episode of the Grief Let's Talk About It podcast. You guys know who it is. This is Tony Lynch. I'm the host of this podcast, and we are your number one podcast from bringing you stories around death, down, and grief, and all the messiness in between, with some amazing people who are out here doing some amazing things that not only talk the talk, but walk the walk, and they're out here just helping use their gift into the world to help you heal, and be guided through the challenges that you go through. So, and with that being said, guys, thank you guys for always tuning in and allowing me to do this for you guys, and for your support. I love you guys. For you guys out there celebrating Valentine's Day, happy Valentine's Day to you. For guys out there that are grieving this holiday, this Valentine's Day, say my heart is with you. Right? Reach out. Let's find you some support. Let's get you somebody that can walk with you. Okay. With that being said, guys, this is going to finish this episode. You guys are going to see you in the next one. Have an amazing day. Peace.